Patience, trusting in God's timing. Welcome back to our series on Introduction to the Devout Life by St. Francis de Sales. In our previous episode, we explored the powerful virtue of forgiveness and how it leads to healing and reconciliation. Today, we will turn our attention to the virtue of patience. St. Francis de Sales teaches that patience is essential for trusting in God's timing and growing in endurance. Let's dive into what patience really means and how we can cultivate this vital virtue in our spiritual lives. Understanding patience. Patience, according to St. Francis de Sales, is the ability to endure difficulties, delays, or suffering without losing faith or becoming discouraged. It is not passive resignation, but an active trust in God's timing. St. Francis de Sales emphasizes that patience requires both inner strength and grace, enabling us to remain calm and hopeful even when circumstances are challenging. Patience helps us endure not only external challenges, but also the inner struggles we face, whether it's impatience with ourselves, with others, or with God's plan. St. Francis de Sales reminds us that every delay or difficulty is an opportunity to grow in trust and faith, allowing God to work in His perfect time. For example, consider a seminarian who is eager to advance in his studies and ministry, but finds himself frustrated by the slow process. Over time, he learns to trust in God's timing, recognizing that the period of waiting is also a time for growth and preparation. Through patience, he becomes more resilient and deeply rooted in faith. The importance of patience in our vocation. For those of us in religious life, patience is crucial for fulfilling our vocations. St. Francis de Sales teaches that patience allows us to trust God's guidance, even when we don't see immediate results. Whether it's in ministry, formation, or personal growth, patience is key to remaining faithful and hopeful. In ministry, we may face challenges that test our endurance, slow progress, unmet expectations, or the need to wait on God's timing. Patience enables us to serve with love and perseverance, trusting that God's plan is unfolding even when we cannot see the full picture. For example, imagine a priest who is working tirelessly to build a vibrant parish community, but encounters obstacles along the way. Rather than becoming discouraged, he practices patience, trusting that God is working through the challenges. His steady perseverance inspires others to remain faithful in their own struggles. The obstacles to patience. While patience is a beautiful virtue, there are obstacles that can make it difficult to practice. St. Francis highlights a few common barriers. Obstacle number 1, impatience with ourselves. Impatience with ourselves can be a major obstacle. We often expect immediate results in our spiritual growth or vocational journey. And when progress is slow, we may become frustrated or disheartened. St. Francis de Sales encourages us to be patient with our own development, trusting that growth takes time. Obstacle number 2, impatience with others. Impatience with others can test our ability to practice patience. Whether it's dealing with difficult people or unmet expectations, impatience can lead to frustration and resentment. St. Francis de Sales reminds us to view others with compassion, recognize that everyone is on their own journey. Obstacle number 3, impatience with God's plan. Impatience with God's plan can make us doubt His timing. When we don't see the results we hope for, or when things seem to take too long, it's easy to lose trust. St. Francis de Sales teaches us to surrender our timeline to God, trusting that His plan is always for our good, even when it's not clear to us. How to cultivate patience? So, how can we actively cultivate patience in our daily lives? St. Francis de Sales offers several practical steps to help us grow in this virtue. Step number 1, practice mindful patience. When you find yourself in a situation that requires waiting, whether it's standing in line, dealing with the delays, or navigating a difficult relationship, take a moment to breathe, to pray, and remind yourself that God is present in that moment. Step number 2, reflect on God's timing. Spend time in prayer, asking God for the grace to trust His plan. Remember that many of the saints experienced long periods of waiting and uncertainty, and yet they remained faithful, trusting that God was working in their lives. Step number 3, be patient with yourself and others. Growth takes time, both in your own spiritual journey and in your relationships. When you feel frustrated, remember that God is patient with you, and He calls you to extend that same patience to others. The fruit of patience. St. Francis de Sales teaches that cultivating patience leads to deeper peace, trust, and spiritual resilience. When we practice patience, we open ourselves to God's grace and allow Him to work in our lives at His pace. Patience helps us navigate life's challenges with a calm and trusting heart. It frees us from the anxiety of rushing and worrying, enabling us to live in the present moment with hope and confidence in God's plan. In conclusion, patience is an essential virtue for living a devout life. St. Francis de Sales invites us to embrace patience as a way to trust in God's timing and grow in endurance. By practicing mindful patience, reflecting on God's timing, and being patient with ourselves and others, we can deepen our faith and experience the peace that comes from trusting in God's perfect plan. As we conclude today's session, let's reflect on a few key takeaways about patience. Number 1, patience is active trust in God's timing. It allows us to endure difficulties and delays with faith and hope. Number 2, patience is essential in our vocation. It helps us remain faithful in ministry, even when we don't see immediate results. Number 3, recognize obstacles to patience. Impatience with ourselves, others, and God's plan can hinder our ability to trust. Seek to overcome these barriers. Number 4, practical steps to cultivate patience. Practice mindful patience, reflect on God's timing, and be patient with yourself and others. Number 5, the fruit of patience is peace and trust. Cultivating patience leads to deeper spiritual resilience and a greater sense of peace in life's challenges. Thank you for joining me today as we explore the virtue of patience. In our next episode, we will reflect on the importance of obedience, and it helps us align our will with God's. Until then, live Jesus.